Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming to the Delaware County Sustainability Commission. So to kick it off, I'm going to go through the roll call. So when you hear your name, please say here. So I'll be covering the Zoom window that has all of you. So please make sure you're vocal when you're telling me that you're here. Steve Clark.
Here.
Jacqueline Rhodes.
Here.
Joy Washington. Grace Bennett. Thank you. David Director.
Here.
Like always. Okay, thank
Here.
you. Okay, thanks. Sean Stansel.
Here.
Thank you. Julie Prey.
Here.
Cephas Hales Richardson.
Here.
Thank you. Crystal Gauld.
Here.
Thank you. Ed Warner. Ann Stauffer.
I'm here.
Thank you. Gina Burrett.
Here.
Thank you. Brooke Stayer.
Here.
Thank you. Karen Wilwall.
Was that guy?
Was that a here for Karen?
Yes, it was.
Oh, thank you. Laura Goodrich Cairns.
Here.
Okay. Great. Okay. And I know Becca, you're here. Okay, awesome. We have quorum. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen so we can approve the meeting minutes let me pull up the agenda first here. Share screen. We want to approve minutes from December, January, February, and March. I have all the meeting minutes here. As soon as if any of you need to take a few minutes to review them, like on your computer, just let me know. But again, and I'm going to have us all approve them all at one time. Is there anyone that needs me to pull up any of them? Like maybe I can pull up March if you need to see March. Would someone make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from December, January, February, and March?
I'll move.
I'll
Great,
make a
thank
motion,
you.
Carol.
Oh,
Second.
okay. Oh, we have a lot of wait. I think Crystal, you made the first motion, I believe. So
Correct.
Crystal made the motion. So who would officially like to second that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, David Director seconds. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so moved. Our meeting minutes from December, January, February, and March are approved. The next item that we need to take care of is our proposed bylaws amendment. So these are our bylaws, but we don't have Becca on here. Oh, Becca, would you
like me to pull up the slide that has shows in red what the changes are?
No, it's actually on the screen now.
Oh, okay.
Do you see it?
Sorry.
I don't know. Do you see it?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. I just know.
I can step out if that's.
I was just figuring maybe that would be most appropriate just in case someone. I don't think
Sure.
anyone's going to oppose, but just in terms of just making the vote be transparent and not
Absolutely.
be like, oh, okay. Come right back real quick though. Okay. All right. So, so the addition would be to, do you all see my screen? You do. Okay. So it would be adding sustainability and resilience manager as one of the members of this, because right now the sustainability and resilience manager is not a member and Becca is always here. And it kind of makes sense for her to be a member of this. Like right now, she's really not. The other amendment we wanted to have was that each member of the county government may appoint a designee or alternate to fulfill their duties in the member's absence or disability. Each member shall only have one designee who shall be approved by a minimum 2/3 majority of the total current membership during the annual meeting. So when we have our annual meeting, we can determine who those designees are. But this amendment change enables it so, let's just say there are certain county government members who can't make it. They do have an official designee who can attend, and then we can continue to do the business of the Sustainability Commission, even though the original appointed person cannot make it. So those are the two changes in the bylaws. So would someone like to make a motion to approve of these changes to the bylaws?
I move we approve the changes.
Okay, thank you, David. Is there a second?
I can second.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Crystal. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so moved. The amendments to the bylaws have been approved. Those were the main items that we definitely had to get out of the way. If we look on the agenda, there isn't anything else that requires a vote. So for those of you who can stay longer, please do. For those of you who can't stay, stay as long as you can and then leave. But officially, for those of you who very kindly connected today so we could move forward with the business of today's meeting, thank you. We're done the official business. And probably in the future, what we'll do is try to find a way that we can make it so everyone can participate. Like I know it's hard with scheduling. So, but anyway, thank you a million. Thank you so much.
Carol, there was no other potential items for voting?
No. Do you recall any, Jacqueline? I went over, as you know, like I know we separately met with Francine, but we went over the agenda and there's no other minutes. It's approving the minutes from December, January, February, and March, and then just the bylaws, and that's it.
Okay.
Officially, that's it. So, all right. So I guess we'll continue with the regular part of the agenda here. Our interactive question. So I'll pull that up. Oops. Okay, here it is. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right. So our interactive question today is and if we all knew the answer to this, we would keep them. And we're doing a lot of things that are advancing sustainability. But if you could go to menti.com, menti.com. And the code is 39352134. And the question is, what is the key to advancing sustainability? There are lots of keys to advancing it, but what is the key to it?
I'm sorry, what's the number again?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the code is 39352134. So it's Menti, MENTI.
Oh, I see it on the top. Okay.
And the code is 39352134. What is the key? And we all do so much, and there's so many different initiatives that we try to advance. But like, is there a key? Is there any recipe key that can help? Unity and collective action. I think certainly that helps. When we have unity behind some environmental initiatives, that certainly helps. Education. I mean, some people may not really understand, why is plastic harmful for the environment? Like maybe some people just don't realize that. And the more we educate, the more you can advance sustainability. I mean, we all should know that. Now, if I had done a word cloud, that probably would have been better. So we can see a lot of people are saying education, but I didn't do that this time. Transparency. That makes a lot of sense too. If we're transparent in what we're doing, that can help advance sustainability. Partnerships and buy-in. I mean, talk about a key. I mean, we can't do everything in silos. If we don't have partnerships, and especially if we don't have buy-in, and it's kind of like a cycle. If we educate people, then we can get more buy-in because they understand it more. So I think probably, you know, what would be neat, maybe for our next meeting, I can create like a little circular graphic that shows, you know, when you educate, and then you get partnerships and buy-in, and then you have unity and collective action, and that can kind of, you know, help sustainability. I can see how these all connect to one another. Stakeholder buy-in, yes. Partnerships, buy-in, stakeholder buy-in, prioritizing. You know, that's true too. We can't do everything all at one time with the same intensity. You know, so maybe select the various things that we have partnerships on and buy-in for. So yeah, definitely prioritizing helps. And we only have so many resources. We have to definitely prioritizing is important. Voting for politicians that support climate action. Yes, that's a huge one. That is a huge one. Democracy, changing our mindset. Right. Yes, for sure. You know, some people know a certain way of doing things, and maybe their minds just have to change. And I guess, again, it goes into education. You know, you get someone and educate them, and then that helps them change their mindset. And then we get partnership and buy-in, and then we have unity and collective action. It's, I really like all of your answers. Get everyone to do something. That's true. Even the slightest little bit that we can do helps a lot. Education, vision coupled with practical action, community buy-in. Yeah, we can talk about the vision as much as we want. If we don't have actually any kind of action behind it, then we can't advance anything. So I really appreciate this. Let me see what's in the chat. Okay. Thank you a million. Thank you a million. Okay. All right. With that, I see, let me see, I'm going to stop sharing. I believe Becca is back. Okay, Becca, we passed the resolution. So
Well,
welcome.
thank you, everybody. happy to be on the commission again.
So, yeah. Let's see. So I'll go on to the next item on the agenda. I'll share my screen. Okay, instructions for public comment. I'll stop sharing just for a moment, just so I'm just accurate with what I'm saying to you here about public comment for those of you who are members of the public. Throughout the meeting, we'll be providing the opportunity for residents and guests to provide comments or feedback, during which time comments may be submitted by the following. Guests may submit written comment to the email sustaindelco@co.delaware.pa.us. That's sustaindelco@co.delaware.pa.us. Guests may also provide written comment in the chat window of the Zoom meeting. Is that still accurate, Becca? Yeah, they can
You should
still
be
do
able
that.
to. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So with that, I'll share my screen again to go on to the next item on the agenda. Oh, we're already on to number 5, which is, I guess, is there any public comment?
None in the email currently.
Okay. Yes, and yes, we're all appreciative and thankful to have Julie pray back. So
Excuse me, Carol, it looks like we have a message in the chat.
what can we make public comments on? You can make public comments on anything that we've discussed so far in the meeting, and you can wait until later on. We'll have public comment later on as well. So I will share my screen to go on.
Sorry, not to interrupt, but typically the first public comment section is just for items that are on the specific agenda that we're going to discuss. And the second public comment option is for anything having to do with sustainability or the Sustainability Commission. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense, but I would also encourage people, even if they have a comment not associated with those, but maybe maybe the word cloud, not the word cloud, we didn't do word cloud today, but the interactive question, like if someone has a question about any of that, then. But yes,
Okay.
that does make sense.
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen again to go on to the next item on the agenda. Sustainability and Resilience Manager update. Becca.
Alrighty, thank you. It's going to be quick this afternoon. Let's make sure you guys can see the right screen. Can all of you see it in presentation mode? Or do you
No,
see
it's
that
not.
in the notes?
It's not in presentation mode, but we can see it. It's not in presentation mode though. We can still see your slides on the left-hand side.
One moment, please. Sorry about that. Here we
Thank
go.
you. Yeah.
Now can you see it in presentation?
Perfect. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you guys all first for formally appointing me back on the commission. I sincerely appreciate it. I'm happy to be a formal member. But today I wanted to give just a couple updates on some of the key projects that are going on that we've talked about in other meetings. So first and foremost, I just wanted to provide some updates on the conference. So the two things you see on the screen, first and foremost, we currently have our award nominations open. As you all may recall, we have an awards subcommittee this year made up of members from Widener University, the commission, some Delaware County staff who will be reviewing nominations and will be bringing those back to this commission in May. As of right now, we are still looking for lots of nominations, and there are links on our website, but I can also put them in the chat as well. Please note you can also nominate yourself. The other thing I wanted to note is we also have exhibitor registration currently open now through April 21st. So this is for any folks who are in organizations or businesses that would like to potentially have a table at this event. Other things I just want to share. Since our last meeting, I'm very excited to share that our professional itinerary is completely full. So we have all of our speakers set in stone. Some of the newest additions from last time include Archie Filshel from Aero Aggregates North America will be one of our plenary speakers. For those who may not be familiar, Aero Aggregates is the company that came in and was able to save the day with the I-95 bridge outage due to their construction material, which is made of completely recycled glass. And they're out of Eddystone. We've also added Jen Malkoon from Greener Partners, who will be speaking about local food systems and growing organic. And Alex Danovich will also be giving a presentation during our breakout sessions about how to recycle more effectively and quote unquote correctly, because I know there's a lot of questions about what can and can't go in bins, as well as best practices. Some other things I just wanted to share that we're working on. I'm very excited to share that we are going to have composting this year at our event. So in addition to trash and recycling, food waste, will be able to be composted. We are also actively working with Widener to get some bike parking for this year. I know we had some folks ride last year, including Julie. So we're trying to get that all fixed and squared away. And the last thing I just wanted to remind all of you, if you're available and able to come, please register online at delcopa.gov/sustain delco 2024. Some other things that I wanted to share that are just coming up from the department. Our primary elections are coming up on April 23rd, for those who may not have known. So get out there and vote on the 23rd. But the following weekend, we'll also be doing our campaign sign recycling events. We will be looking for volunteers for this event. We're anticipating that it's going to be a bit slower, just because it's not, there aren't a lot of positions open on the ballot right now. But we still anticipate and encourage folks to recycle any kinds of yard signs. We are also looking for volunteers for Earth Day tree planting and park cleanup, which will be held in William Penn Park in Chester City, in partnership with the City of Chester, the Chester Shade Tree Commission, Delaware County Council, and the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. So this should be a really fun morning, getting to plant our conference award trees and also cleaning up the park. And again, I'm happy to send these links around to everybody. And they will be on our website for any members of the public that would like to attend. The other thing I wanted to share, so I'm not sure if you guys remember, but in our last meeting, we kind of had a round table at the end of the meeting about Community Earth Month or Earth Day events that we knew of happening. We compiled a full calendar or full listing of all of the events that you guys had recommended, as well as other just community events we know going on. I will say there are 2 more pages worth of events. So these aren't all of them. But I just wanted to let you guys know that those are posted on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as at www.delcopa.gov/earthday/communities. And it's worth noting these lists of events are both hosted by Delaware County, but it also shares other events that are not affiliated with the county, just to encourage residents to get out there and participate in Earth Day. The other thing I just wanted to share, I know throughout many of our meetings, I've been telling you all about this climate pollution reduction grant opportunity. As you may recall, I was working on 4 different applications in hopes that we would be accepted into a regional application through the Philadelphia Energy Authority. I'm very excited to share that all 4 of our projects were in fact accepted and have been submitted to the US EPA as part of a regional grant application. So the 4 projects we had applied for include LED replacement and submetering at the George W. Hill Correctional Facility, as well as that at Fair Acres Geriatric Facility. These are our 2 largest energy users of all Delaware County facilities, so it would be doing a complete overhaul on lighting. We also applied for EV charging installation at the Fair Acres campus. For those who may not know, this is in Middletown Township, where our Fair Acres Geriatric Facility is. This would include 12 dual head chargers to help increase capability for the county's fleet. And lastly, I know this is a big priority and excitement for this commission, as well as many of our community members, but we also applied for the creation of a composting facility at one of our transfer stations. Specifically, this would be at transfer station number 1 in Chester Township. For those who may not know, there's actually a commercial composting facility there currently for mulch. It's a private company that has a lease for the property. The lease is expected to be up in the next couple of years, so this facility would be built where that existing composting footprint is, but would also allow for the composting of food scraps. So very exciting. So the next steps in that program, just to let you all know, is in October of 2024, so just a few months away, we'll find out if these projects are fully funded. The other piece of this that I wanted to just share with you, I believe Steve had asked about this in the past, and maybe a few other folks, is the Priority Climate Action Plan created for the Philadelphia region. This was led by the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, so DVRPC, and I'm happy to share that this document has been completed and is available on their website for review. What this plan does is it identifies, I believe, 8 priority climate actions for the region, which then informed the pollution grant, the CPIRG grants. So these are 2 things that worked in tandem, but I know you guys had asked about those in the past, so I just wanted to let you know that that document is complete and is available on DVRPC's website. The last thing I wanted to share, and I apologize, I feel like this is kind of long-winded, is as you guys know, we have 2 subcommittees for this commission currently running. One is the awards, which I already talked about, but the second is an education and outreach subcommittee. This is a group of just a few of us who are working to make sure that presentations are more catered and relevant to our municipalities and hopefully the general public in the future. So as you may recall, one of the next steps in our sustainability plan is to do a municipal roadshow in which we'll be traveling to all 49 municipalities to share the plan with them and really help work out some solutions for seeing how we can get them on the sustainability journey. So again, the subcommittee has been meeting and is really starting to narrow down a really great approach for really meaningful and insightful presentations for these municipalities. And I'm happy to open it up to either Carol or I know David or Ann Stoffer if they have any other comments or things they want to share about that subcommittee.
Not at the moment. I think you've covered it pretty well.
Yeah, I don't have much to add except just, you know, this is going to be such an important facet of what we do to be communicating it. So kind of like when we asked that question earlier on about, you know, how can we advance sustainability? I think this is one of the major steps. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. That's everything I have for today, but I'm happy to answer any questions folks might have.
Becca, can you give us an update on the zero waste plan?
I can do my best. So as of right now, the zero waste plan, it is my understanding that the county is still looking to move forward with the plan. We've been going back and forth quite a bit, trying to make sure that the plan has the most up-to-date data from the Solid Waste Authority. Since leadership in the Solid Waste Authority has changed since the plan was started, we're finding that this new leadership has some access and perspectives on more up-to-date and relevant data. So they're actively helping with that. I will say one update that's also occurring is, and I'm not the authority on this project, so I would kindly request you save questions for when Francine is back. But at this time, it's my understanding that the county is looking to move forward with the adoption of the existing solid waste plan as a zero waste plan. And the Solid Waste Authority would be moving forward with the creation of their own compliance document as the submission to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. So that would mean that they would be creating their own plan for the compliance side, and the county would be adopting the plan that we have been working on as a zero waste guiding document. This is a different approach than what we have talked about in the past, and again has largely been decided due to conversations with both the Solid Waste Authority, who is in charge of ensuring compliance and really implementing that document, as well as the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. So again, I might not have the best answers to questions on that, so I would kindly request that you save those for Francine.
Thank you, Becca. I guess there's nobody on here that in some way shares that responsibility with the Solid Waste Authority?
Of implementation?
Or just being on their board or in any way?
Brooks is on the board if he is still on.
I was just hoping that someone could answer more of the why, if there was any additional information, and if that can't be provided, I would like to submit a request if the commission agrees about having someone specifically talk about that at the next meeting, because I would like to understand again why.
It looks like Brooks is here.
I am here.
Sorry, I don't mean to
but
put you on the spot. If you don't feel comfortable talking about it or feel like somebody else be better equipped, that's perfectly fine.
No, the authority's position has been to help whichever model the council wants to go with. So we've been here just to be a resource, whichever way they choose to go. So I don't know if Barbara or Lane, if you guys want to.
Yeah, I think Becca did a really nice job of describing what's happening moving forward. And the majority of council, not all of council, but the majority of council made the decision to pursue two separate paths. One that is purely regulation and DEP driven, that will satisfy exactly what they want. And one that is more in line with what our aspirations are in terms of our solid waste.
So it was council driven, as you just indicated.
Jacqueline, I'm Barbara O'Malley. I'm the newer executive director here. I don't know how long I can say new, but I thought Becca and Councilwoman Schaefer, again, did a nice job. I would say a little bit more of the why is we did have, obviously we've been going through editing process with DEP. I personally had a conversation because again, I did not start until January with DEP. And indeed, the suggestion was we submit more of a traditional, what do we have? What are we anticipating having throughout the next 10 years? And what is the conditions and things that we can, DEP can ensure that we are in compliance and that we know are in place now. Certainly in no way, shape, or form does that prohibit us from doing better. And we want to do better, and we want to include all the information and work that had been completed, the groups that we and discussions that we had. And that is why council would like to continue to make sure that we put on record all those discussions and things and goals that we had that had been discussed with Zero Waste Associates as a plan that council will adopt as part of our Sustained Delco project.
So DEP suggested this.
I'm not going to say DEP suggested it. I mean, this actually was, if the council is, if the group is not aware, this is something that had been discussed late last year to make sure we could get our report in and make sure that it was accepted and get it in timely. But yes, in discussions, this was a variety of input when you say why. It was a variety of input that we presented to the council to make the decision as to whether to move forward as is or to have some assistance to make sure this was something that was going to be put through and voted on. And again, in concert, which what needs to be done for a more of a regulatory act.
So who's the we?
I'm sorry, I don't know which one I said we. We, as in recommendations.
You said we, so that's what I was just trying to figure out. So you said we talk to council. So who's the we?
Essentially me. I spoke with DEP. I spoke with the Solid Waste Authority. I got as much, spoke with Francine, got as much information as possible. As you know, this has been ongoing, and I talked to the variety of sources, presented the information to council, and it's obviously council's decision. And as Councilwoman Schaefer mentioned, it wasn't a unanimous decision, but that was the decision. And I support the idea that we will be able to do and meet both goals of having a plan that the Solid Waste Authority can meet, the DEP can enforce, and that we have these very specific goals and actions that now the Sustainability Office can implement with your support.
And how long, you know, I know this is a key point in terms of renewal. How long does this last?
It's a 10-year report.
Right. So that's a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really long time. Well, thank you for sharing that. I guess I was not as aware of this situation, considering all the time that was spent in really making this a high priority. And I understand it's still going to be adopted, but I'm someone that lives in the regulatory world. And as soon as you adopt something that is not your aspirations tend to disappear. So I will have to say I'm pretty disappointed. And I just wanted to note that my hope is that's true, that the plan itself will continue to live on in some ways, and it is encouraging to hear about grant funding for composting and things like that. But again, I'm personally disappointed, but regardless, thank you all for that update.
Jacqueline, I want to
Yeah.
say I really appreciate your comments, and I share in your disappointment. But I also want to say that it really elevates the work of this commission that, you know, it's not in our regulatory plan now, what we want to see happen. It's not. So if it's going to happen, it's going to have to, we're going to have some serious energy and heart and passion behind it to making the zero waste plan happen, because it's not, we're not forced to do that anymore. Not that we even would have been, the hybrid plan would have been fine, but anyway, I just want to say that this group will, if we ever want to see the zero waste plan and the aspirations therein come to life, it's going to be from people like us. And it's not going to be from DEP making us do it.
Right. I understand. Totally agree with you. And, well, we know it always would be a list, right? And obviously at least sets the bar in some ways by investing and developing a plan and, you know, having all those pieces together. So obviously there's definitely some positives associated with it. But I also want to make clear, for just from my personal perspective, living in the regulatory world, what this truly means in practice for people that may not be aware, so that it does elevate the need for real aggressive action by anybody that is interested in really seeing this come to fruition. So, and I really appreciate you and other support that and helped in developing it. So thank you.
One more positive note is that, you know, DEP had never seen a submission like this. It kind of rocked their world. But guess what? Next time someone submits a zero waste plan, they're not going to be so shell-shocked, and maybe they'll handle it a little differently. So, you know, change takes time and little steps. And they did really try to work with us for many months to try and figure out what they would do with a zero waste plan. And, you know, in the end, council decided this was getting too complicated, so we changed course. But hopefully the next time a plan like this comes in front of DEP, they'll be more prepared for it and less, it'll be less complicated.
Sure. Yep. Very true.
I would agree. Just would say absolutely, this commission should feel like trailblazers in that effort. That was clearly commented on by DEP.
And I'm thinking what we can do for our next meeting is maybe have more of Jacqueline, maybe you can talk about like your experience and just talk more about this for those of us on the council that or the commission that may not really understand. I think those of us who are here hearing from you all now, we understand it, but just in case there are people from the public or whatever, like maybe we can explain this more at our next meeting, and also just reevaluate the various ways that we can keep fire under what we do and continuing to move ahead, and how to continue trailblazing. And, you know, I think, you know, we should realize we have that power and potential. And so I think we should talk about it more at our next meeting, maybe do a little bit of education. Maybe Jacqueline, you can speak about your understanding of the regulatory world, and we can just have further discussion, education and discussion around it.
Yeah, it would definitely be good to have further education discussion. I'm just curious whether or not DP would be willing to talk with us a little bit more about it and just their perspective and the process and what this means, because maybe that would be a little bit more enlightening for all of us.
Okay. All right. All right, I wrote that down as maybe like we can speak to Becca and Francine and see what we can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions or comments about that? Okay. Any other, Becca, were you actually done your report? Or I'm sorry, I couldn't remember.
Yes, I'm all set. Thank you.
Someone mentioned a comment. It's please feel free to type in your comment in the chat and it will be read. Okay. All right. Well, I'll share my screen. Oh, wait a minute. Before I share, I just wanted to say something. I looked on the Sustain Delco Facebook page. I know there's social media for like, Instagram as well. How many of you have a Facebook account? Can you like raise your hands or either raise your virtual hand or raise your, okay, a lot of you do. I would say, oh, great. I would say share what is on the Sustain Delco Facebook page and social media. Share it. All of us probably have like so many friends who do amazing things in the county, absolutely amazing. And they really should be recognized at the conference. So submit their nominations, please. I'm on the awards committee as well. And this is a great way, not just to recognize people doing wonderful things for the environment, but also they can be an example to others who want to contribute more to cleaning the environment. So please share those. If you have social media, please share. I'm going to be doing that probably later today because the deadline is the 21st, which is not that far away. So we want to make sure we have some great nominations. So please forward that to within your social networks. Let's see. There's a comment. It sounds like the county decided zero waste is a nice to have, not a must have. Very disappointing to hear. Nothing like a regulatory backstop to motivate forward progress. It may seem disappointing, but we're going to have a further discussion at our next meeting about how we can still move forward and maybe have it explained more. So we'll talk more about that at our next meeting. But are there any other questions or comments before we move on to the next item on the agenda? Okay, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, let me just add to your previous comment. You have to realize that there are time constraints involved, and that it sometimes drives a practical decision that looks like a nice to have as opposed to a must have, and what it needs to do instead. And this is, I think, what you're saying, Carol, is to drive looking for an alternative way to make it happen anyway. It's just one of those things that happens, but we do all have to deal with official time constraints.
Well, I think you're right. And if we could get DEP and maybe we can have a conversation, ask just again about the process. Doesn't have to be specific, like, well, what if we did this, but more about, what if we came in before then? What if there's a way that you adopt this that we can submit something that is an amendment to or revision of, or, again, I know some of the regulatory scheme of things, but I don't know the finer details because there's so many different pieces of it, that maybe that could be something that they can share if there are options.
Sure, and I would just like to comment too, as a regulatory document, it is something we don't have a choice but to adhere to. It's not optional, so that's something the county has to consider as it looks at this plan. We can do better, but if we put whatever we put in there, we are actually obligated to do, and that was part of the concerns, as it is reliant on a lot of things happening that aren't necessarily fully within the county's control, including construction projects and other things. So I would say, though, we absolutely would encourage referencing in that document, referencing the things that we want to do in the sustained Delco plan. So I think there are absolutely ways to meet those goals, maybe not doing entirely saying the county will be absolutely without question in this place in 10 years, because if we do that, we are truly obligated. And again, not having all the resources entirely at hand to make that happen. And that would be a difficult thing for us to commit to. But say, this is still our goal that we're going to be working toward. And these are the steps, and this is the plan that we think is going to get us there. So I do think, again, understanding fully the disappointment of sounding like a middle ground or a compromise, but protecting the county and still having the county in writing, committing to this work. So again, completely understand all the work and effort and disappointment, but hoping to bridge that gap of being able to maintain and meet what we say we're going to be in 10 years, but also aspiring and hoping and planning to do better.
Thank you, Barbara. Any other comment before we go on to the next item on the agenda? Okay, I look forward to talking at our next meeting. Just something that occurred to me. I don't know if maybe if someone, I don't know if this currently happens, but I don't know if Francine does this, or Becca, I don't know if you do this, but is it possible to have a portion of one of the council meetings get on their agenda, just to, for example, we may be talking about the, how we're doing a road show. I imagine one of the road shows will be like our own Delaware County Council. But I think that may help with more awareness. So
yeah, we can always request. So if you're recommending like doing a presentation or something like that, we can always request to be on the agenda.
Yeah, or if there's something in particular that's just very important that we want to express ourselves about, then it would be good to maybe get on the agenda of a Delaware County Council meeting. But
sure, and I can get back. So if it's more like unstructured, I'll have to get back if that's public comment or not. I'm not the most experienced before our council. So I'm still navigating the formalities of that, but I can certainly look into it and ask around. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's a possibility for, and not doing it just to do it and have people like not listen if it's just like general, but if there's a targeted topic that's of in particular importance that we just want to make sure the Delaware County Council is aware of, then I think it would be good to maybe get on their agenda for that. But that was just a thought that I threw out there. I'll go into the
Carol, Francine and Becca come to council on a sort of regular basis to give updates about the sustainability department, and sustainability commission is one of the things they give updates on. But we do have other boards that do presentations about like what they've been doing. They'll get on our agenda, update from the Parks Board or update from, the Immigration Committee or whatever. So if that's what I'm not quite sure what you're asking for, but if that's what you're asking for, I think that's totally legit.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Well, thank you. Let's see, I'll go on to the next item on the agenda. Let's see. Any other public comment?
There's nothing in the email currently.
Okay. I don't see anything additional in the chat, so I'll share my screen again. Right, new business. Is there any new business that anyone would like to bring up? None? Okay. All right, we'll go on to the next item on the agenda. Set action items for next meeting. So let's see, according to my notes, one of the action items is to that our deadline for the nominations for the awards is April 21st. So if you want to nominate yourself or ask friends to nominate or do a social media push to communicate this out, please do so. Also, the exhibitor registration, that's also due, I believe, on April 21st. So, if you know anyone who would like to be an exhibitor, please let them know that as well. And then what we just talked about, maybe we can have someone from DEP speak at an upcoming meeting. Was there anything else, Becca, or Jacqueline?
The only other things I had.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Becca.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to say I'm going to share out the volunteer opportunities that we talked about today.
Oh,
and then
yes.
again, I can, Carol, I can speak with you a little bit more about what you had in mind for council, and we can figure out the best format based on Elaine's recommendations as well.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I did have something. I did notice somebody put in the public comment about participating in like our outreach or subcommittees, right? Because we had said that for the committees that we can have people off the commission, right? So maybe if there was a little blurb that we could post for people again to participate. But then I had also wanted to know about whether or not this format that we have for the public participating could change, because I don't know, I'd prefer, hearing directly from people and seeing people potentially rather than having it come through a system. I know I've participated in other public meeting settings where they allow that. So wanted to see if that could be explored as well.
Yeah, I'd like to ask what everyone thinks. We originally had the format of the Zoom meeting where people could speak and they could turn on their cameras and there was more of a free flow of communication, but then we got Zoom bombed, and I remember that day. So we changed to this format just for that purpose so that we can avoid being Zoom bombed. So it kind of depends on your comfort level. So how are you all feeling about changing the format to more of I'm sure all of you have been in like regular Zoom meetings where it's not a webinar and you have panelists, but
Carol,
yes?
I'm going to interrupt you on that.
Sure.
Just because we are using Delaware County Zoom accounts, you have to follow particular Delaware County IT policies, and this is the policies that we have set for groups that are meeting in this situation. One, because we cannot particularly meet the Sunshine Act for a person just kind of joining that, so we need to know who they are, what particular municipality they are from, so we are able to accept their public comments. We also have no real there's no easy kind of way to just kind of monitor what a person may particularly say, particularly if we are also streaming to YouTube. So it has to stay this way.
Well, just to take a step back from that, though, that's just because of what the county has adopted in the system. But I've been in meetings where they've controlled the muting of people off and on for even county commissioner meetings. So I know it exists, whether or not, the county wants to do that in whatever system, I understand that, but the option does exist out there. But regardless, if that truly isn't an option, then I would encourage that we set up to have 2 meetings a year in person then to give people additional opportunities.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way we can follow whatever the rules are. And I'm very familiar with the Sunshine Act as well, Sean. I'm very familiar. But I don't do the technology side of it, so I don't really know it from that perspective. But to Jacqueline's point, I think if there's got to be a way that we can encourage more public participation and comment while still following the rules of the Sunshine Act. And I know that, so that there are ways. And to your point, Jacqueline, maybe it just means having a couple meetings more in person. So whatever we can do, we'll try to do. So maybe that's something we need to explore for like our next meeting, try to figure out. And maybe since I mean, some of us in the commission are volunteer and some of us are government employees. So I don't know if the government employees need to talk about what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. But I imagine there must be a way for us to just have the spirit of a more conversation and collaboration, but still stay within the rules of Delaware County. So we should explore that for next time. So Jacqueline, thank you for bringing that up. Does anyone else have any other thoughts on that? I don't want to shut down the conversation of the commission. Do you have any other thoughts on that? David, I see you've unmuted yourself and turned on your camera. I don't know if that means you want to speak.
Mostly, I didn't mean too much, but I did want to point out that there is a further comment here in the chat. How is the committee leveraging IRA funds to support its mission? And I would say that that basically the county is doing it. The commission itself, it really doesn't have much to do with funds. And so Becca would be the person to answer that question for you.
Sure. So we had applied, so IRA is broken into a bunch of different programs. So off the top of my head, I know that we had applied to Swiffer late last year, which was the solid waste infrastructure for recycling, to try to get the composting facility in place. And that was an IRA program. We were not accepted to that funding source, unfortunately. But that's the only one that I know our office has specifically applied through. The CPIRG funding that I mentioned earlier is a program out of the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, the IIJA. So that was another program that came out around the same time. But those are the two that I know of that we applied for.
Thank you, Becca.
I'll say planning's also going after a bunch of different grants. The community change grants through the EPA is an IRA grant opportunity, and that is something we're actively looking at, how to go after some of that funding. And we have gone after a lot of the IIJA funding, and we did get the $2.5 million for reconnecting Route 291 in the city of Chester through the Reconnecting Communities Neighborhood Equity grants.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's great. Let's see. I guess there was another public comment. I guess the Education and Outreach Committee does not control what's on the website, so whatever needs to be changed, that's under Delaware County. So if there's anything that you see that should be changed, kindly let Delaware County know that.
Corey, if you want to drop your email in the chat, I can reach out to you about that.
So I will share my screen to go to the next item on the agenda, which I believe we're getting pretty close to adjourning. I guess the last one is just public comment. Is there any other public comment? There's probably none, Becca, in the email because I think you just checked it anyway.
Nothing in the email.
Any updates on the Walk Roll Delco project?
I'm gonna address that one too. Yes, we are still working on that. We did just close, we had a public survey out. We did just close that. So now we're taking a look at the data that was submitted, and hoping, I think our schedule right now is late summer, early fall to have some more information out about that, but there'll be additional opportunities to provide input on that as well.
Okay.
Did you get a good response?
I don't know what the end of the final numbers were. I know we were getting a good response. I'm not sure where we landed. We just closed it, what the final numbers were, but I can definitely provide more on that once we get through all the things we got. So, and we are still working very heavily on our Vision Zero. They tie in together, the Vision Zero Delco plan, which is our safety action plan, and that we've gotten a ton of engagement with. And we have our safety ambassadors who are volunteers throughout the county who are doing some additional outreach as well. And we've done a ton of different focus groups. We just had some this week with emergency responders. We did some the week before with crossing guards. So we're really trying to get voices that aren't always included in these kind of conversations to get their feedback on that. So it's been really interesting.
Thank you, Gina. There's a lot of information on the Delaware County website about when the commission was formed and what its purpose is. And oh, thank you. Thank you, Becca. Thank you. That's perfect.
Sure. So, yeah.
Thank you. So I guess just the next item on our agenda is adjourning. But before that, I just want to thank you all, every single one of you on today. You are all very much appreciated, and all of the efforts that you put into this, and all of us from Delaware County employees to the volunteer members of the commission, you are all very much appreciated. Every single one of you. So thank you. Becca, do you have any final remarks before we adjourn?
No, I just want to thank everybody for coming on this happy Friday afternoon. And I hope everybody's celebrating Earth Day and we see you out at some of the events coming up.
Yep. Okay, with that, well, I guess we don't have quorum to actually make a motion to adjourn. So I'll just adjourn it and say thank you so much, and we'll see you again next month. Right,
Thanks,
bye,
Sarah.
everybody.